what's up YouTube? It's ICU, and in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to downgrade iOS 13.2 back to iOS 13.1.3 in preparation for a potential future iOS 13 jailbreak, one that would be semi-untethered, so to speak, that wouldn't have the same limitations as the upcoming checkra1n jailbreak utility. So this is essentially iOS 13 jailbreak prep, and it's very, very time sensitive because Apple is going to stop signing the target firmware that we're actually about to downgrade to in today's tutorial. So make sure you take advantage of this guide as soon as possible. If you're watching this at a later date, it is possible that iOS 13.1.3 is no longer being signed, and if that is the case, it will be mentioned on the article that's linked down below in the description. By the way, that one link will contain everything you need, from written instructions to the iOS 13.1.3 IPSW to even the tvOS beta profile, which you're going to need once you do downgrade, so that way it blocks OTA updates and accidental updates to iOS 13.2 or higher. Now you might be wondering, well, why is this important? There's not currently an iOS 13 jailbreak as of recording this video. So Apple recently released iOS 13.2 to the general public. Everyone knows that. But in doing so, the company patched a very critical kernel vulnerability that existed in past iOS 13 versions. And said kernel vulnerability has the potential to lead to an iOS 13 jailbreak for all devices, including A12 and A13, like the iPhone 11 Pro Max and the iPhone XS series. So this is very, very exciting, and the target firmware that you want to be on is iOS 13.1.3 or lower. And while we are currently awaiting the release of checkra1n, which will be the first iOS 13 jailbreak, this would be something entirely different. Checkra1n will have limited device support, so again, only the iPhone 10 and lower, and it would also be a tethered jailbreak. So unlike checkra1n, this would be semi-untethered, meaning you could reboot your device and you could repatch the kernel to re-enable your jailbreak at will without the need of a computer. You could also switch back and forth between checkra1n as well as this potential future jailbreak utility if you're on iOS 13.1.3 or lower, because all versions before iOS 13.2 are susceptible. In fact, hacker Pwn2Own, who is responsible for developing and releasing the Uncovered jailbreak, has also fully confirmed this by saying the following, quote, "If you are interested in a possible jailbreak with an A12 or A13 device or a semi-untether with others, stay where you are if you're on 12.4.1 through 13.1.3, or downgrade to iOS 13.1.3 as soon as possible if you're on iOS 13.2. Also, quote, "Semi-untether with other devices would basically be a seamless switch between the upcoming checkra1n jailbreak and Uncover. You could jailbreak with checkra1n and use Uncover to enable the jailbreak without a computer when your battery runs out or your phone needs to restart." So this is fantastic news. We basically have confirmation from Pwn2Own that not only is he intending on updating Uncover and releasing something compatible with up to iOS 13.1.3, but that you'd be able to switch between the two jailbreak utilities if your device is supported. So that's why you'd want to be on 13.1.3 if you're on an older device. And even though older checkmate devices in theory can downgrade and install whichever firmware they desire, even if Apple has stopped signing it, it would be best practice to actually downgrade to it while Apple is still signing it, because that's going to be so much easier, and we're unclear whether or not checkra1n will allow for custom firmware restores at this point. And for newer devices, it makes sense for obvious reasons. So with all of that said, in today's video, again, we are going to walk through exactly how you need to do this. So first and foremost, you need to make sure iOS 13.1.3 is still being signed. That one link that I mentioned that's down below in the description will essentially confirm that. So you can see here we are on this article right here, and as of recording, the current signing status is listed as yes. That will change to a red no once it is no longer being signed. So this tutorial will be invalid once that happens, because iTunes and Finder just go through a number of security checks that you just can't circumvent. Of course, unless you're making use of something like a boot ROM exploit checkmate, but that's an entirely different story. And again, we're focused mostly on newer devices, even though this is relevant for old ones as well. So every single device can do this. Now, what you're going to have to do is actually download the beta IPSW. So to do that, I just want you guys to navigate to that article and find this big button right here. And once you do, you're just going to click on it and you're going to wait for the redirect, and you're going to see a set of instructions that walk you through exactly what you're going to look for on the target site here. So we're going to click right here. As I mentioned, you need to click right there to be redirected, and then you're going to select whichever device you have. So I have an iPhone. I'm going to select on iPhone right there, and I have an iPhone 10. Now, this one is a global iPhone. I already know that. Its identifier is 10,3. If you don't know which device you have or what its identifier is, you can go up to the top here and click on Identify My Device, and it will walk you through that. It's important that you actually download the right one. I can't tell you how many times individuals comment saying that iTunes or now Finder won't actually restore to it, and it says unsupported firmware simply because they're downloading the wrong IPSW. This is another check right here. If the firmware is listed in green, that means you can actually downgrade and restore back to it. If it's red, then that means Apple's no longer signing it. But again, as of now, Apple is signing iOS 13.1.3, so you guys just need to click it and then followed by download, and then it will start the download. So I already have mine downloaded. Here is where we're going to go through the actual downgrade process itself. All right, so now I want you guys to connect your device to your computer via a lightning cable. So I have mine connected right now just through this dock, and on Windows you're going to launch up iTunes if it doesn't automatically pop up. On Mac, inside of Finder, it can be any Finder window, it will appear inside of Locations on the left hand side, so you can see my iPhone appears right here. Now I'm going to click on Trust on my computer, and if you're on Windows it might pop up with a pop-up on your device first, but regardless you're going to click on Trust on both on your computer, and then on your device you're going to receive this pop-up. You need to tap on Trust and establish that connection and input your device's passcode. Once you do that, your computer will successfully be able to access your device, and we're going to be able to do everything we need to do properly to downgrade. So right here, what we have to do is back up our device. So inside of iTunes as well as inside of Finder, you're just going to click on Backup Now. And once this backup starts, it's just going to take a little bit to complete. You need to wait for it to fully go through the backup process. And I also just wanted to quickly show you guys that I'm going to create a note here just so you can see that after we perform this, we're going to have all of our data. So I'm just making a note that says test. You can see here that this is a brand new note, it says test. I'm actually going to add something else to it too. 13.2 downgrade. Okay, cool. So let's tap done. So test 13.2 downgrade. I'm going to back it up one more time because although it did finish the backup, I'm not sure that note was actually added. So I'm clicking back up now, and it's just going to go through, see what's changed, basically just this note, and add it. So now we have that, and all of our data is backed up because I really don't have much on this particular iPhone. So we can go ahead and continue now. All right, and now we need to disable Find My on your device because we're going to go through a typical restore process. It's just a limitation that Apple has. It's actually a very cool safeguard to ensure that devices aren't stolen, basically locking via iCloud. But for our purposes, we need to temporarily disable it. You can turn it back on after you're fully done with this process though. So we're going to launch up the settings application, tap on our name up in the top, and then tap on Find My, and then you're going to tap on Find My iPhone. It's dynamic based on which device you have, and then you're going to toggle it off, and you'll be asked to input your Apple ID passcode. Okay, and once you've done that, it will successfully turn off Find My Device, and you can go through the restore process. Remember, it is critical that you do have a backup first, and you can also encrypt your backup as well if you want to save things like your health data or other personal sensitive information. I don't have this turned on, but I do recommend it if that type of data is important to you, but it should back up everything else if you don't have this checked. But if you just want to make sure you have a total backup, backup, then I do recommend encrypting the local backup as well. Now, if you already are familiar with downgrades in the past, Apple has fundamentally changed things with iOS 13. The previous method for maintaining your data no longer works properly, so it's very important that you do the backup and restore method versus the update method inside of iTunes that used to work that now no longer does entirely. You may actually forfeit all of your data if you try to do it this way. What I'm going to show you guys is a little bit more complicated and intricate, but if you just take some time and you stick with this tutorial, I promise you'll get there one way or another. So now at this point, what I want you guys to do is hold down either the Option or Alt key if you're on a Mac, or the Shift key if you're on a Windows-based PC. You need to be holding down either of these two buttons. So I'm on a Mac, I'm holding down the Option or Alt key, and I'm going to left click on Restore iPhone. You're going to do the exact same thing if you're on Windows, but just hold down the Shift key, and then you're going to point this window at that IPSW we downloaded in the beginning. So you need to open it, and once you open it, it's going to say that it will restore your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch to iOS 13.1.3 and will verify the restore with Apple. It's also going to erase all data, so that's why it's so critical that you have that backup. So now I clicked on restore, and it's saying that your Mac is preparing to restore the software on this iPhone. So it's just going to, again, put this iPhone into recovery mode, and it's going to go through the downgrade process. Remember, it does perform a number of checks with Apple's remote servers to make sure that everything is okay. So as long as Apple's still signing iOS 13.1.3, you should be completely good to go. This is a pretty lengthy process, so I'm actually just going to speed it up right now, and we're going to get to the next steps of this video pretty quickly, but this is a very long process. And it will vary for you based on a number of things, including which device you have, your computer, your connection speed, all of that stuff. So I'll be back once this finishes. Okay, and so now the downgrade has finished successfully on my computer. It says that your iPhone has been restored to factory settings and is restarting. Please leave your iPhone connected. It will appear in the sidebar after it restarts. All right, and now it's going to go through the on-device consolidation step, and Finder pops up with a little notification saying your iPhone has been restored to factory settings and is restarting. Please leave your iPhone connected. It will appear in the sidebar after it restarts. So this process doesn't take nearly as long. It's the on-device consolidation stage, and it recommends that you do leave it connected, so just adhere to that. After all, we do need it connected anyway. So same thing here, I'm just going to speed this up until it's finished. Okay, so the bar is now gone and the iPhone is restarting, and it's going to be at the setup screen right here. As you can see, it says hello, and it's basically slide to set up right now. Here, so I'm just going to go through this process to basically set it up as stock, as factory. You're going to have to do the exact same thing as well. So right here where it says apps and data, I'm just going to go all the way through the process. I'm not interested in transferring it right now. We're going to do this after we already set this up as a new device, as I said just a second ago. All right, so here we are. We're going to swipe up to the home screen now, and I'm going to go inside of settings, general, about, and you'll notice for the version now we are in fact on iOS 13.1.3, so the downgrade was successful. However, we don't have any of our data right now, but now inside of iTunes or Finder, you'll notice that when you actually try to restore from backup, you're going to get this error. It says could not restore iPhone because the backup is not compatible with this iPhone that is being restored. Do not panic, guys. Don't freak out. We just have to change one identifying text for the backup, and then we should be able to restore back to it. See, Apple now has made backups and restores a little bit more complicated than previously by specifying specific versions of iOS that those backups were created for, and it just does a quick check. If that version doesn't align with what your device version is, the restore from the backup fails, but we can go ahead and trick it. So on our Mac here, I want you guys to press Command-Shift-G, and essentially this is going to go to the specified folder. Inside of Windows, you can just open up your File Explorer, and you can click on the top where it says path, and you're just going to input the path that's linked down below in the description. That very first link will contain the file path that you need for either Windows or Mac OS. So once you have that file path entered, it will take you to it, and you're going to click on backup, and you're going to find the latest backup that was created today. If you have other backups, it will specify there as well. And you're going to see a whole bunch of folders. You're going to scroll down until you see info.plist. And I want you guys to open it with your text editor of choice. For Mac, I just recommend TextEdit. You can open it with any regular text editor on Windows as well. So once you've opened it, you're just going to look for where it says product version. This string right here, we're just going to change it to 13.0, and then we're going to save it. It's just Command S on Mac. You could also go up to the top, you could go File, Save, and the same thing applies for Windows. You're just going to save it. And now we're going to navigate back to our device in Finder or to your device inside of iTunes. And now when you go to restore from the backup, guess what? Now it's actually going to work. It says restore in progress on our device, and it's going through the process inside of Finder on our Mac. Now, the restore from backup is going to be very quick for me simply because I don't really have any data whatsoever on my device, but for you guys with info and with data on your devices, it's going to take a bit of time. So just exercise patience and leave it connected to your computer. Now let's go ahead and wait for the device to reboot, because just in having said that, at 1x speed, I didn't even speed that up whatsoever. The restore from backup is already done, and now it's just rebooting. All right, and now it is back up, and it says swipe to upgrade. That's how you know we did in fact restore from a backup. And now it's just going through the on-device consolidation step one more time, just like it did through the downgrade. We have a bar beneath the Apple logo, and let's just wait for that to process through. This part is once again a little bit sped up. Okay, so now it's done. It says hello again. We can swipe up to open. And after inputting our password, it says restore completed. Your iPhone was restored successfully. There are just a few more steps to follow, and then you're done. So let's tap on continue, and it asks us to enter our Apple ID passcode that we actually had when we created the backup. So I'm going to do that now. All right, so here we are. We are just now at the section where it's asking us to go through a few other steps and set up a few other things like Apple Pay, iCloud, Keychain, Siri, so on and so forth. Now we can swipe up, and it looks exactly the same prior to the restore from backup, simply because I had the exact same wallpaper on iOS 13.2 anyway. But you'll notice that here, again, we still are on iOS 13.1.3. Nothing has changed there, but now we do have our data back inside of Notes. You can see we now have that note that we created prior to the downgrade. And one last thing that we need to do once we are on iOS 13.1.3 is to install the tvOS beta profile. This is critical to ensure that you do not accidentally install any OTA updates. So on the exact same post listed down below in the description, I want you guys to visit it and scroll all the way to the bottom until you see the big tvOS button. Tap it, and then you'll be redirected. Once the links are gathered, you'll be redirected again, and I want you to tap where it says tap here. Then on this final site, you'll scroll all the way down to the bottom for tvOS 12, and you're going to tap the blue download button followed by download anyways, and then you're going to tap on the prompts as you see them. Tap on allow, and then go inside of your settings application, tap on install, input your device's passcode, and tap on install again. Now I want you guys to just reboot on iPhone 10 style devices, so 10 and up, volume down, press and hold the side button, and then slide to power off. Once your device does restart, then inside of settings, general software update, you'll notice that it fails to pick up the latest version of iOS. I also want you to turn off install updates automatically if you have that set at all, and then you should be good to go. Just remember to be vigilant and always notice any sort of pop-ups you may happen to see, because you could accidentally uninstall this profile, which would re-enable updates once more. So some awesome stuff, guys, downgrading back to iOS 13.1.3 in preparation for a future jailbreak utility. I really hope this video helped you out. I know it is a little bit complicated and intricate, but if you just take some time, be patient, stick with it, and make sure you create that backup inside of iTunes or Finder to ensure that you don't lose your data, you're gonna get there. It may just take some time. So again, I really hope this helped you out. Be sure to subscribe if it did. And yeah, guys, things are looking exciting on the jailbreak scene. So I'll keep you guys notified anytime anything happens. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.